open up, and you can't kid yourself in that. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't think they're there, then you got to ask, why don't you think they're there? Where did you mess up? Right? And go fix it.
Where do people generally mess up, or is it usually all over the place?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's usually around the idea of credibility, right? They probably spent too much time on their product. They didn't position themselves as someone that the buyer felt could actually help them,
mm-hmm.
right? Because look, people love help. You know what I mean? People really do. People love help. The challenge is believing they need the help.
Right.
So you have to position yourself or make something happen in a way that gets them to feel like they need the help, or to question, maybe I do need some help here. Maybe I have missed something. Maybe at the bare minimum, it's worth talking to this person.
Okay. And when you say go back, how far back are you talking?
I mean, go back to the customer and start talking with the customer again. Evaluate the current state. Do you understand the current state enough? Better yet, here's a good one. Do you understand? Do you understand what problem you're trying to solve? That's usually a telltale sign. Good question. Usually the problem is you don't even know what you're trying to solve. That's why they're not willing to let you help them. You haven't even identified a problem they might have.
Mm-hmm.
So are you even aware of what problem you think they have? Because sometimes early on you don't know and you're trying to find it, right? Or if you talk to them, have they told you what the problem is? Right?
Right. Okay. Chapter 9. Right, so take that out. Okay, so I think this was my next question was, I was confused about, is this the same thing as the problem identification chart? Which it is. So I think we already answered this question. So I'll just have to refer back in chapter 2, you filled out this chart. This is where it's going to help you. And you've already filled in the third column by the time you get here, right?
Yep. Yeah. The whole thing gets filled in at one time.
Right.
Yes. There's no filling in and coming back later because then it's incomplete. Right?
I think at one point, somewhere along the way, I got the idea that the chart was to be completed before the discovery process, but it's actually being filled, like maybe the first and the second are filled in before the discovery process, but that third part is part of the discovery process.
No. The third part is still part of the process. Again, I know, and I'm not going to use you because you asked me not to. I know that whatever problem or service, whatever problem my product or service solves, I know on the front end what some of the expected root causes are. It's like being a doctor.
Right.
A doctor knows that if someone comes in and he says, what's the problem? All right, tell me a little what the problem is. I'm really sleepy, I'm lethargic, okay, etc. The doctor will skip the impact. He knows the negative, right? We'll skip the impact piece. He knows, okay, when somebody's lethargic, when someone's this, someone that, it could be cancer. It could be lack of iron. It's a woman. It could be lack of iron in her blood. It could be, et cetera, yada, yada, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, same thing with sales. I know that if someone has low close rates, there's only a handful of things it could be. An inexperienced sales team who doesn't know how to close. A bad product that isn't doing well in the marketplace. Poor training on the product, poor training for the salespeople and how to position it, new competition to the marketplace. Like those things are standard. Like I know it's not going to be something. I know it's not going to be a meteor. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I want the people thinking about what they are. And of course, they might learn something as they go along, and And then, okay, great. If you learn something as you go along that's new, put it in there. Right?
Okay. All right. So that was my confusion with, that's why there was a question there at all, was I was like, are these two separate things or not? So they're not two separate things. And we've already just explained what they're for. All right. So that was handled. And you wanted a different question from the reason I exist is to. Right underneath that, at the bottom of page 55, you wrote, I want to come up with a stronger question, but you're on the right track.
All right, hold on. Let me see this one. I walk and talk.
At the bottom of the first page of chapter 9. At 11:31.
Oh, 11:31. Okay, hold on. 11:38. Yeah, that helps. Look at that. 11:35. 11:31. Oh, yeah. The reason I exist. So, hold on one second. Hold on, so. Sorry. Okay. You need to have a founder's mindset where you think about why anyone should buy from you. You must be able to fill in the blank, end the sentence with. Okay, so something maybe like, how can I help them? Or how does this improve their life? Or how does this improve their business? How does this make their life better, their business better? How does this solve? I don't want to say how does this solve their problem right now. How does this make their business? Let's go with fill in the blank. How does this make their business better?
I guess the reason I phrased it, and maybe I got it from you actually. The phrasing, the reason I exist is because it makes you have to think pretty narrowly. Because if you say, how does this improve their business?
Okay, good. How about this one? The reason my product, that's it. Beautiful. That was really good, Stephanie. The reason my product or service exists is to.
Oh, okay.
The I is what I was struggling with.
Okay. There we go.
Excellent. That was good.
Okay.
That's really good, actually. Think about it. The reason my product or service exists is to.
Yeah.
And you can put any one of those problems in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
To improve low close rates, right?
Right.
To what was the one? To improve lead generation and lead prospecting. To increase sales. Oh, that's good. Look at that. That's good. Way to go, Stephanie.
It solidifies it. It condenses it. Okay.
Yes.
Right below that, I asked if you would be able to make a ticket sales example with a chart like when we've described using specifically a ticket sales company, because and the reason I wanted to do that is so that we could use it for the example, because we use that example a lot because that was one that was on your mind at the time. And I thought it might be helpful for people to be able to track back to the chart and be like, oh, I see how this is working. He's pulling from that chart to ask these questions, and so you can sort of see where it's coming from.
Yes, we can do that.
So you can use what's already here and work backwards, I guess. But I figured there were probably more things that didn't make it into the example that you might want to add. So that I assume that a lot of times these charts will have things that you don't mention. They're just there. Like it's always going to be like a bigger pool than you actually, you fish out of that pool and then you see what you catch kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You're cool with the joke about the sister. You didn't mention anything, so I'm going to assume that's okay.
Yep. Where was the joke again?
I was like, if you're about how it doesn't matter that you're not talking to the right person because you could actually get to the right person if you.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yes. Yes, this is good on this. So I had a friend read this. He just got zeroed in. He got zeroed in on this whole BANT thing, like everybody else does. So what I would like to add to this BANT thing at the very end, in a little asterisk or a call out or whatever, is eventually you will need to get all of this information. But, okay, so sorry, we'll get there. I think I talked about it. Sorry, keep going.
Okay. So the next thing is at the end of this BANT discussion, before the header, how to start, or the subhead, how to start, and you wrote at 11:38 a.m., how does a salesperson then qualify an opportunity for?
Wait, we missed one. We missed one. Demand reaction.
Oh, yes. You sure did. Okay, what is that? Oh, right. I was asking, what the heck is demand reaction and in-demand creation?
Okay, so it's not in-demand creation, it's demand creation. Take the N out.
Oh, so that must have been a typo. Okay.
Okay, so demand reaction is when you sold me, you were demand reacting. Mm-hmm. I believe that I had a problem and I believed I needed to fix it, right? Whether I chose to fix it or not isn't the point, right? Demand creation is, let's say we met at a party and I'm telling you I'm writing a book, or you had someone call me up because you heard I was writing a book, and you're like, hey, have you ever thought about using a ghostwriter? And I said, no, I'm all set. I don't need a ghostwriter. And then you asked a bunch of questions like, oh, tell me why you're I'm not supposed to use you. Sorry. I'll go on a different one. Sorry.
Use your clients. I got to use your clients.
Okay. So someone calls up and we'll do the it's the damn one. I'll try to do one off the top of my head on the ticketing one. So I called the ticketing company and said, hey, have you ever considered using a ticketing and CRM combined solution instead of having them in two separate situations? No. How come? Everything works just fine. We send out emails to everybody. We get them to come back, and we have great ticketing, and they can buy the tickets online. We don't need it, right? And then you say, okay, no problem. Let me ask you a quick question. When someone buys a ticket, how do you get them into the CRM? Oh, we type it in. Oh, okay. How many new people come every year? About 25% of our customers are repeat customers. Now, how many tickets do you sell in a year? We sell 100,000. So about 25,000 people have to be manually entered into the system every year. Yeah. And are you paying someone to do that? Well, of course, you're the admin who does it. Let me ask you this question. What does she do, and how do you know they're first-time ticket buyers, and how do you promote to them? Well, she checks a box. Have you ever missed checking the box? Yes, all the time. So what if we could create it so you only had to put it in once? You didn't need to have a person dedicated to data entry, and you could actually highlight first-time users and kick off an automated email that thanked them for coming and offering them a discount. Would that change your business at all? Holy cow, I never thought about it like that. That could be pretty interesting. Why, did you have something that could do that? Yes, well, maybe we should talk a little more. Mm-hmm. I just created demand.
I see.
Right?
You're putting ideas in their head.
Yes, that's demand creation. That happens all the time in sales. All the time. Good salespeople. Shitty salespeople, when they say I'm not interested, they said they already had a system. Well, hey, dipshit. Is that system optimized?
Right.
Right? What are they trying to do? What does it cost them to keep it going? And yes, that's demand creation.
I wonder if I mistyped the sentence, because you wrote the best salespeople leverage demand creation to sell, not... I think I might have mistyped. I should look at the blog again, because I'm not sure why I highlighted that. Because I can see what demand creation is. That makes sense. There was something that wasn't making sense to me, though.
Oh, you should have stopped me then. Sorry.
No. I can still use that. Are you kidding me? That's all good stuff. I'll have to go back and look at the blog. Why I didn't understand what you meant. The best salespeople leverage demand creation to sell. And of course, I didn't include a link to that blog post, so I can't quickly run to it and say, no, this is what you wrote.
You could just put period for all I care.
I could do what?
Just go period. The best salespeople leverage demand creation to sell. Period.
Okay. All right.
Right, and it could be. You could talk about latent. You could say they don't only look for customers who are aware, but they look for latent opportunities that the customer didn't know existed.
They don't only look for. Say that again. They don't only look for.
They don't just look for opportunities where the customer knows they have a problem. They look for latent problems or latent opportunities where the customer had no idea they needed anything.
Right. Scrolling down just a little bit, at 11:38 a.m., you wrote, how does the salesperson then qualify an opportunity? Was this in reaction to somebody who read it and was like, well, wait a minute, you still need to qualify?
Oh, no. Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, you still have to qualify. Exactly. Okay. You still have to qualify. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what so basically you're just like writing a paragraph. You could have just written a paragraph in the thing. So I should just cut and paste that, fix the grammar, if there is any? How does a person qualify an opportunity? 4 simple criteria. Does the prospect have a problem? Can your product or service solve the problem? Does the customer admit they have a problem? Will the customer go on the journey with you? So if you get a yes on all 4, you have a qualified opportunity. And then you start.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
Okay.
I mean, you're the writer, so yeah. Yeah, I'm good with that.
No, and then it flows into, so here's how you start. So discover the problem. Well, see, that's the thing is, does the prospect have a problem? You're asking that before we get to how to start, where we say discover the problem. So I guess, like, shouldn't you ask those questions? Isn't that what we're about to do, is qualify the opportunity?
Yeah, so as you ask the question that you're done, at the end of the conversation, you should know if the opportunity is qualified or not.
Okay, so that's all happening at the end of what we're about to start.
We're trying to, yes, when you first engage with a customer. So, again, qualifying traditionally happens in the first call. Mm-hmm. And salespeople try to ask a lot of questions around, BANT. That's why I hate it. It's like, they're asking questions and you're going back and forth. Oh, have you budgeted for this? Or is this something you guys have considered and put money away for, right? And they go on and say, well, now that we're talking and you understand that we might be able to help you out, when do you think you'd like to get this done? Really? Are you really asking all these questions right now? And what they say is, if yes, the person says they have a problem, and yes, they have a need. They call it a need. I don't like need, but anyways. And yes, the person has budget, and yes, I'm talking to the right person, and yes, they have a timing in mind, and that's a qualified opportunity. And it goes into the CRM, and you keep working it, right? You keep moving until the sale closes.
Right. But the discovery process, that's not the same thing as qualifying an opportunity?
Yeah, the outcome of the discovery process, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was clarifying.
Sorry, yes.
Okay, but at the end of your discovery process, you should be able to say yes to these questions.
Yeah. Okay. And in some cases, you may qualify before you do the discovery, which is fine. They may have a short-term conversation that finds the problem early on. Mm-hmm. Says, yes, I'm having this problem. Good. I'd like to set up a meeting to dig deeper into that problem. Okay. So it can happen beforehand as well.
Okay.
But however an organization qualifies an opportunity, this is the appropriate qualification criteria, not BANT.
Okay. Now, you wanted to tweak the probing questions that I suggested for the ticket sales company.
Yeah. Okay, so this goes back to sort of what I said before. How many people work in the company? It's irrelevant.
Okay.
Right? It might be, if this is the ticket sales one, you might want to ask questions like, how many concerts do you put on? How many tickets do you sell in a particular year? Right? How big is your theater? How many theaters do you cover? That's a great one.
Okay.
If there's more than one theater. Right. What's the average number of? That's a good one. How many membership packages? That's a good one. But the high level, how many people work in your company, that is no bearing whatsoever in what I can sell you.
Okay. So maybe just take that one out.
And how many people report to you? No bearing.
Nope. Okay. Don't ask this. Okay.
And use the word tell me a little bit about, because I also want people to understand there is a bit of art to this. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. And
people don't really handle well with how do you it feels like an interrogation.
Right.
But if you say something like tell me a little bit about how you do something. I did another one for you. We can reference her books. She calls these. I like what she calls these. Hold on, what does she call these questions? Listening, how do you do? Probe for clarification, sit back and listen. So, questions. Avoid, okay, hold on. Avoidance trait. Yeah, avoidance. assignment, relating questions with care, calls and good questions. Shoot. I'll have to find this, but I see this one woman has gave a name to these types of questions that I ask. I'm like, oh, let's just get a name for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's her name? You don't know her name, or you don't know where it is?
The name she gives to the questions. Her name's Deb. Deb Calvert. Questions to avoid. Oh, wait, these are going to be the questions I want to ask. Hold on. Thing in the moment. Conversational flow. Closing with opening questions. Okay. Command statement starter words. Tell me. There you go. Okay.
Starter words? Is that what you said?
Command statement starter words. Love these. So we're gonna give her a little quote, and I'll take a picture of the book so you can quote it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And give her credit for it.
Okay.
But when you ask these questions, you want to ask them in command statement starter words. Tell me about. Help me understand. Can you please describe? Mm-hmm. Can you walk me through? Just a couple.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are nice questions, aren't they?
They are. Did she write that recently, or is that a long time ago and you started using those because you read that book?
No, I started using. This is the art form. This is how I've always asked questions. But I know her personally, and she gave me the book and asked me to read it and tell her what I thought. And when she got to these commands, I said, "That's it. Those fuckers are genius." She gave a name to it. Like I never would have come up with a name for it. But I live in the command statement world. It is so de-escalating, and it's not you know what I'm saying? When you do that, you actually give them control, or the sense of control. Tell me a little bit about it.
Right. They give sense of control. Okay, so we'll just give her. She came
how do you do this? Right. That people are like, well, why the fuck do I want to tell you how I do it? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
So I'm going to take a picture and send that to you so you know what book it is.
Okay. Next page. You wrote 206. You wrote a subchapter. Be specific. This is extremely important. Here we can talk about open-ended answers. So I wrote that we need to press people to be specific, and I offered some examples. And what else would you want to say?
I just thought about the idea of just giving it a bolded subchapter to slow people down for a second and not just move right through it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So just making it that, and then also talking about open-ended answers. So open-ended answers are things like, I need to grow. I want more revenue. I need more people. It's sort of what you referenced earlier. You know, the more, faster, quicker. Mm-hmm. Those are open-ended answers. We want to reiterate here, you cannot accept open-ended answers. You have to train your mind that when you hear an open-ended answer, you have to stop and ask them to define and declare.
Okay.
So we want to call it open-ended answers or call it whatever. Sorry, we want to say that. That's what I meant. Sorry. Call it open-ended answers. Did we even say that in here? No.
We don't use that. We talk about open-ended questions, open-ended answers. We talk about vague answers and general answers. We don't call them open-ended. I'm not sure why they're open-ended, I guess, because we're not growing fast enough is an answer.
Open-ended. It's open-ended.
Right.
And that's just
because
the term I made up.
What you're saying is it leaves something to interpretation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I think what I meant there was simply call the chapter open-ended answers. I don't know that to add too much more, but I really wanted to call this out. Or we put it in parentheses, whatever. This is something that most people have been taught.
Okay.
This is, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that is not in traditional sales training, and it's not, when it is, it's not structured in the way that I'm structuring it. So I want to make sure this is not missed or not glossed over.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. It'll be a little short section. That's fine.
Okay.
I asked about switching. You said no. I said okay.
Wait, what did I say no on?
Oh, because I said doesn't it make more sense to discuss the root cause of problems before you discuss the impact of those problems? And you said no. And so I say okay.
Oh, I see. Now I was going to like that again.
That's my linear brain.
You know what it's like? It's like a doctor talking about the root cause before I really understood the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'd lose credibility. Until I truly believe you understand the problem, I can't, you know what I'm saying? I need to, so yeah, got it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the impact, the impact. The reason I want them to talk about impact before root cause is root cause is steeped in my assessment of solving it. And if I don't root you or anchor you in the impact to your life, the discussion about why it exists and why we need to solve it is moot, i.e. I have a tumor in my lower back that's, I'm making up a number, 22 millimeters. It's benign. It's not growing. Don't have to take it out. I don't really care to talk about the root cause right now.
It sets the urgency of the problem.
Yeah, yes. The impact speaks to the potential urgency, or is the element of the intrinsic motivation. Right?
Right.
So by saying, well, tell me about how is this affecting you? Tell me about how it's hurting you. I went and took a look, and it looks like it's malignant, not benign. It appears to be growing. Currently today, it's growing slowly, so tell me about today. Is it doing this, is it doing that? And then it's like, okay, understanding all this is why it's happening, I recommend we take it out. This is how we take it out. Because it's doing this and it's doing that, we do it this way as opposed to that way. Now I have credibility as someone who can solve your problem. But you're not going to move until I anchor you in the impact of solving the problem.
Right.
That make sense?
Yeah, I'm just writing something down with that.
Now you can do this a problem at a time though. You don't have to do all the problems and all the impacts. You can do one problem, one impact, here's the solution. Mm-hmm. Like I had a company at Arms. They told me they were having a hard time growing. They said they weren't able to predict revenue. They said they were always surprised. They were concerned that the growth wasn't going to continue. And I asked some questions about what was going on, and then I asked some questions about what was happening, and they told me I want to get to 48 million. I said, well, here's why you're not. You're distributed. That's a root cause. Right?
Yeah.
You distribute. The reason you're not is you're distributed. You have individual sales managers across 5 different regions who don't talk. Oh.
So when you said you're distributed, you mean you're not communicative across your, like, what does distributed mean? Clearly.
So 3 sales guys in England report up to 1 guy in England, and they never talk to or never engage with anybody out of Australia, and the guy in Australia never engages with anybody in the United States. So
and the term to describe that is distributed.
Well, and that you have distributed sales organization. Yes.
Okay.
Right. So what I did was I told him he needed a global sales director. And once you have a global sales director, it was that person's job to manage all of the independent sales teams.
And help them communicate? Or just process all of their information?
Manage them in general. Talk to me about your deals. Hire and fire the individual. Because the guy in England would hire and fire someone in England. The guy in the United States would hire and fire someone in the United States. Well, they weren't on any common methodology, right? There was no commonalities. Everybody was operating as independent sales organizations that had no consistency, had no common methodologies. You see what I'm saying?
So your suggestion was to bring one person in to help bring them all into alignment.
Yes.
So that it could all be managed efficiently.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Next comment. I wrote, you uncovered a problem, lack of communication with donors. And you wrote, we should have discovered the problems in the problem hunting section first. So yes, having difficulty communicating with donors is good, but we found that out earlier. We now want to ask what's been the impact of, right, because we're in, okay. I guess I'm not sure what the problem is here. We're in the discover the impact section. I'm recapping that we have a problem, which is the lack of communication with donors, and I'm emphasizing that next you're going to spotting the impact this problem is having on the business. I guess I'm not seeing what I said wrong.
Okay, yeah, let me read this again, see what I meant by it. Oh, yeah. Okay. If I got this right, hold on. Okay.
I was referring back to number 1, which is when we discovered there was a lack of communication. So I'm following through on that message, on that example into this next section.
Yes. So, okay. So what's the impact of not communicating with donors? That's what we want to talk about. That's not the impact. Communicating with donors isn't the impact.
Right. I understand. I guess maybe what I'm not being clear is when he says, when the head of the ticket sales company mentions that last year's revenue was 4 mil and is disappointed and mentions that it's hard to connect with patrons. Oh, I see. So what I was trying to do was that first part to me was recapping what you did in number 1, which was figure out the problem. And then number 2 was, identify what the impact is. And that's the impact, is that you're not, now I've just scrolled and I've lost it.
So the impact could be that last year's revenue was 4 million and they're only going to do 3 million this year. Or they're only going to do 4.1 million this year. And so they're not growing fast enough.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Right. But isn't that what you're doing, is you just uncovered an impact that it's having on the business and your customer didn't realize that that's what was happening?
Yes.
Okay.
So, well, say that again.
With that conversation, you're finding an impact, which is that the revenue is not what it should be. That's the impact that the problem is having. They didn't even make that connection, that's why they were having that problem.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Right?
In this example, what I was trying to do was show how these series of questions helps the customer see the impact, helps you reveal the impact.
Yeah, okay, good. So all right, I see where you're going. So where he says 4 million, then that was disappointing. We've done it better in the past, but it's just so hard to connect with patrons nowadays. So what you might want to do then here is teach them to how to get that out of them, right? So what do you mean you've done better in the past? Look, right there. That's an open-ended answer. We've done better in the past.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but what does that mean? I don't know. Is better he did 3.9 million or did he 2 million? Or, I'm sorry, he did 4.6 million or 4.1 million?
Okay, great.
Right? So, oh, shoot. So that's what I mean by open-ended answers, right?
Yeah.
Yes, so you might want to take this one here.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I ignore. You might see some things and you just ignore them.
No,
I went to type on one thing and I typed something else.
I like the idea of dissecting examples and saying, like, remember we talked about this thing? This is the thing I'm talking about. This is where we use this technique or whatever. So that's good. So we have a conversation, and you say, "Here, there's an open-ended answer. Now you have to press. You find out what the number actually is that they're talking about now. Then what?"
So your ability to sort of say, you could either say, "Look, this is disappointing. It's just hard to connect with patrons nowadays." You can drop in here and say, "This is a perfect example of an open-ended question."
Uh-huh.
Right? What you want to do now is ask questions. Could you tell me a little bit about how did you do in past years? What did you actually do in past years? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to do in the future? This is one of those ones where the future state actually just tees itself up, so you have to take it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yes, and then you might even say, so what are you expecting, understanding this and understanding where you are today? What are you expecting to do today if you don't fix it? And now you've just gotten the gap in this scenario, right? I used to do 5 million. Now I'm doing 4 million. I'm only going to do 3.9 million this year at the end of the year. I did 4 million last year, whatever the example is. I really need to do 6 million.